If you've got student loans, there's a good chance you've decided they're the reason you can't buy a house. And there's a good chance the number in your head is wrong, because the payment a mortgage lender counts against you is often nothing like what you think it is. I'm Brad Haines, a Washington mortgage loan originator. I work with first-time buyers and credit-challenged files, the buyers other lenders turn away. Student loans are probably the number one thing I see people disqualify themselves over, and it's usually based on a number that isn't the real number. Let me show you what I mean. Here's how it goes. Someone's got, say, $40,000 in student loans. They do quick math in their head. I owe 40 grand. There's no way I can add a mortgage on top of that. And they never make the call. But here's the thing. A mortgage lender does not care about your total balance the way you think. They don't add your $40,000 to your house payment. What they care about is one number, your monthly payment, and how it fits into your debt-to-income ratio. And that monthly payment, depending on your loans and the program, it's often a lot smaller than you'd guess. Sometimes it's a fraction of what you're imagining. Sometimes, believe it or not, it's zero. Let me give you the real mechanics. On the channel I work through, every lender layers its own rules, so this isn't universal. But here's the shape. The rules are different for different loan types, and that difference can decide whether you qualify. On an FHA loan, if your credit report shows a zero payment, say your loans are deferred, the lender uses 0.5% of your balance as the payment. On $40,000, that's about $200 a month, not the $400 or $500 you might have assumed. On a conventional loan, Fannie or Freddie, here's the one that surprises people the most. If you're on an income-driven repayment plan, they can use your actual documented payment. And if that documented payment is $0, because that's what your income-based plan calculated, a $0 payment can count as zero against you. On a VA loan, it goes even further. If your student loans are deferred at least 12 months past your closing date, the payment doesn't get counted at all. So the same borrower, same $40,000 in loans, can qualify very differently depending on which loan we use and what your repayment plan actually says. That's not a loophole. That's just knowing which door to walk through. Now the caveats, because there are real ones. Documentation is everything. A $0 payment only counts as zero if you can prove it, with a current statement or plan letter from your loan servicer approved before closing. You can't just say my payment is zero. You have to show it. The plan can't be expiring. If your income-driven plan is about to reset or your payment's about to jump before your first mortgage payment, the lender has to account for that. Timing matters. And student loans in default or collections are a different animal, especially federal ones, which usually have to be resolved first. This video is about loans in good standing, deferred, in forbearance, or on a repayment plan. If yours are in collections, that's a separate conversation, and still one worth having. Here's why I made this video. The person who owes $40,000 in student loans and assumes they're locked out of homeownership is exactly the buyer I built my practice around. They're not unqualified. They've just never had someone actually run their real numbers instead of the scary number in their head. The gap between I owe a lot in student loans and here's what actually counts against me is enormous. And nobody closes that gap for you unless you act. So if student loans are the reason you've been telling yourself not yet, that's the exact thing worth a 10-minute free conversation. We'll look at what your loans actually report, what plan you're on, and which loan program treats them best. There's no application to find that out. You might be a lot closer than the number in your head says you are. And if you're a real estate agent with a buyer who thinks their student debt rules them out, send them my way. 9 times out of 10, the real number is better than the one they're afraid of. That's the file I work.